All right, y'all. Now we're going to talk about the home office deduction, because I get this question a ton. First things first. The IRS says that you can only take the home office deduction for a place that is exclusively used for work. So this is where a lot of folks, a big hiccup is. Here I'm sitting at a dinette in our casita travel trailer. I don't use this dinette only for work. We eat at it. I don't have any place in our 96 square feet or so that I only use for work. So I personally, Lindsay and I, neither of us take the home office deduction, because there is no place that we only use for work. And if you look at the Dunford case, just Google IRS Tax Court Dunford, there's language in that tax court case that really hammers that idea home, that it has to be exclusive. In that case, people were working out of a Class C. They said, hey, it was a judgment call from the IRS agent, the auditor. They said, hey, I don't see how in their particular Class C, how you can have a place that you're only working at. And they didn't even they didn't do things entirely great. So they gave a lot of ammo to the IRS agent. But all that to say, another example is, folks in Class A's or toy haulers, where you're doing these major renovations, have a lot of clients that do that. You can have a spot that is in a Class A, in a toy hauler, in your Airbnb backpacking around Europe, that is only for work. But what you got to do is document it. You got to show how, show the area, or take pictures of the area and show how you only use this for work, if it ever comes to a point where you have to defend yourself. So how do you make sure you can document this? You want to take some pictures. You want to make sure you got a good references and proof that shows how you only use this exclusively for work. So a good example of that is like having a partition of some sort, a door, like a physical, like a real door with hinges, or some sort of partition mechanism, like cloth that folds down or something that fully differentiates like a living area versus a home office area. That's kind of brownie points to be able to claim, yeah, this is only used for work. I go into this little nook, I close my door, or I pull my curtain, and I'm at work, and I'm only using this for work. So there's just some ways to make it work. So how do we actually get this deduction on our tax return now that we have a basic understanding of it? There's two ways to do this deduction. It's called the simplified method versus the actual expenses method. So if you can imagine, the simplified method is a whole lot easier than the actual expenses method. For the simplified method, you get your business square footage and you multiply it times $5 per square foot. So much easier to get to this deduction for folks that are sole proprietors taxed on Schedule C. It goes on Schedule C. So that's the one method of doing it, simplified method. The other method is the actual expenses method. So this is more work, more record keeping, more documentation, but it could prove to be a bigger expense, a bigger deduction, because it's more expenses. So you might want to go through this hard work of keeping track of it. So then you get into very in the weeds of how the deduction works. You still get your total percentage or total square footage of your area, of your home, and then you get your square footage of your actual business area. So then you have that percentage of business as a percentage of your total living situation, your total home. So the actual expenses method, it's a whole lot more complicated, but it may be way more beneficial for you, because you may have a whole lot more expenses that have to do with your home, and it's more tax favorable than that simplified method where you take $5 per business square foot. So how does this work? So the actual expenses method has this idea of there's expenses that are directly related to your office, like an office chair or a stand that I put my computer on and a mouse. Those are direct office expenses versus indirect office expenses. So in an RV situation, indirect office expenses would be just things that have to do with your RV, because your RV is your home. So believe it or not, things like tires and repairs and paint, utilities for sure. So I mean, those are what's called indirect because they're not directly affecting your exclusive area. There's a third category that the IRS has that are just expenses that aren't related to your home at all. An example of that in like an RV situation, I would argue that maybe like a mat outside to put your feet on and stuff could be argued that is not at all directly or indirectly related to your home. So you can see how this gets to be judgment calls, gray areas. Ultimately, I bring this up these three ways because you have to keep track of all your expenses that have to do with your home. And you have to categorize them, and it was directly related to my office, it was indirectly related, and it was not related at all. So then you take all those expenses. For the directly related expenses, you get 100% of that expense. So like a chair that is only in your office and only used for your office. For the indirect expenses, you get a percentage, and that percentage is your business square footage divided by your total square footage of your home. So you get a percentage of those indirect expenses as a deduction. And for those things that aren't related to your home at all, you get zero of that. So that's why you have to, if you want to take the actual expenses method, because maybe you did a massive renovation, this is why the massive renovation might be more tax preferable for you as opposed to the simplified method. But you have to go through the extra work of tracking all the expenses and then analyzing whether it's direct, indirect, or not related at all. So there you go. That's the home office deduction. Tons of folks, nomads, take it. You can do it, if you're roaming around backpacking as well. I used RVing as a lot of examples in this discussion, but backpacking around Asia or wherever, same idea. You have your own, you're just one room that's only used for work, and you have your total square footage of your Airbnb or whatever. And you can still use the simplified or the actual expenses method. And to take things a little further, for us nomads, you, believe it or not, you actually can, if you have multiple home offices throughout a year because you're moving around, maybe you're in an RV for 4 months and you have an exclusive spot for work, and then you go to Europe for another 4 months and you rent a spot, and you have a spot in that apartment that's exclusively used for work. And maybe even you do it each month, so you got 12 different home offices. You can actually, it's, as you can imagine, a whole lot more work, but you're allowed the deduction for all of those home offices. Basically, what it is you have to take a percentage of your net income from your business, and you essentially tally a percentage of your net income from your business to each home office, and then a home office deduction can't make a net loss, so you're kind of limited based on each home office as to how much of a deduction you can actually take. So a whole lot more into the weeds, but just trying to encourage you that just because you roam around a lot doesn't mean that you won't be able to get the home office deduction if you have all your spots exclusively used for work. So want to encourage you on that. So for the home office deduction, where do you report that on your tax return? So if you are a sole proprietor, which means you file Schedule C, you're going to use line 30, expenses for business use of your home. To take that even further, if you are using the simplified method, you just put it right on line 30 because it's business square footage multiplied times $5 per square foot. But if you use the actual expenses method, you got another form, and that's form 8829. So you'll have to do all of your, we said indirect, direct, not related, percentage of business, square footage over total square footage of your home. All of that, all those calculations and stuff are done on form 8829. And then all that jazz rolls over to your Schedule C line 30 as well. So if you're doing your taxes by yourself, this is the forms that you'll use and the places that you'll have it. I hope that helps y'all. Holler at me if I can help. If you want to remember how to do this later, there's a link in the description for you to download a worksheet to walk you through it. We hope this helps. Please subscribe to our channel so you can get the accounting and tax tips that we push out. If you have any questions, ask them below. Please like the video to help us get this in front of more folks. And if you want any one-on-one help, head over to our website and holler at us. We'll talk soon.